Well, the federal government says that because the COVID-19 situation in Canada is improving, vaccinated travelers will soon no longer need a PCR test to enter Canada. Beginning February 28th, travelers can instead opt for a rapid antigen test that is performed in a medical facility. While some experts say they'd like to see testing dropped entirely, they agree it's a step in the right direction. Starting February 28th, fully vaccinated people entering Canada won't have to shell out around $200 for a PCR test.
Travelers will now have the option of using either a negative COVID-19 rapid antigen test or a molecular PCR test to meet pre-entry requirements.
Rapid tests cost about $40 and only take 15 minutes to complete. PCRs are not only pricey, but according to infectious disease expert Dr. Zain Chagla, they're not as useful.
Rapid tests, you have to have a good amount of virus. So number one, if you have a positive rapid test, you're really infectious to others. So that's if you get a positive, you shouldn't be traveling. But number two, these long people that have long PCRs that are positive don't test positive on rapid tests. They're constantly negative because you have to have just such a high amount of virus, usually enough to infect others.
Arriving travelers will be subjected to random PCR testing but won't have to isolate while waiting for their results. Additionally, unvaccinated children under 12 who are accompanied by vaccinated adults won't have to isolate at home for 2 weeks in order to return to school or daycare. For those who haven't received the jab, unvaccinated foreign nationals still barred from entering this country, and unvaccinated Canadians will need to be tested upon arrival and again 8 days after arrival and isolate for 2 weeks. The state of Canada's hospitals will determine whether more measures are lifted. Dr. Chagla feels keeping future variants out of Canada doesn't include intense testing at airports.
The point here is to understand what's happening at the border, not necessarily use it as a wall to prevent variants coming in. Recognizing, look, if we're going to have any semblance of interacting with the world, it will involve COVID coming in over the border, and I think that's just part of the story moving forward.
Last week, the CEO of WestJet announced that they'll be canceling 20% of their flights in March due to a drop in travelers. But with March break now a month away, Marvin Ryder from the DeGroote School of Business says the airline has some time to scramble their jets.
I don't know how fast WestJet can put flights back together. They might be able to. They might be able to do it, given that it's a month from now, accelerate their schedule and get closer to a full schedule. I don't know if there's enough time. And certainly for them, this announcement, if it had been 2 weeks ago, would have been much, much better than it is today.
Jean Duclos says measures for people arriving on cruise ships are still being discussed. Right now, it's recommended that Canadians don't take a cruise.